Well, good afternoon or good noon. How many folks do we have? Do we know from the osteopathic school? 2 or 3 from, well, welcome to you. And what about CEMC? What about other sites? Oh, no confirmation. Okay, so osteopathic school, it's out to you. Hi, I'm Ann Chester, and with me I have 4 knowledge brokers, also called Community Research Associates, and they are awesome. That's Kathy Morton McSwain from Webster Springs, yes. That's Sarah Hanks from Morgantown. That's Merge McMillan from Braxton County. And that's Summer Kuhn from Shady Spring. So these places are all across the state. These folks live in these communities, work in these communities. And, well, hello, how are you? And we are here to talk about knowledge brokering and research. So the objectives of this, click on this. Where?
Just click.
Ah, got it. Nope, that's not it. Sorry about that. Technical difficulties.
There we go.
All right. So we have 3 major objectives for today. First of all is to figure out if you in particular are able to partner with HSTA and do community-based participatory research. You might wonder, why would I think about doing that with kids? And we'll tell you why. Because kids are not just kids. These kids are actually young adults, and they're very good at it. The second is to understand the roles and the functions of these 4 wonderful people right here and how they can help you through IRB. I know that's amazing, but they get things through IRBs for folks. They get things through IRBs with kids for folks and all their other roles. And the third is to determine ways to collaborate with you to reduce the health disparities in West Virginia and to increase health literacy in West Virginia. Well, we just came back from Washington. We went to the NIH annual meeting of NCATS for the Community Engagement Corps. And for those who are not born and raised in the alphabet soup of NIH, NIH has newly formed this National Center on Advancing Translational Science. And the leader is this dude down here, Chris Austin, Dr. Austin, and we talked to him personally while we were there. He laid out the future for NIH in terms of CTSI, Community Engagement Research. And the first thing he said was what you would expect. Diagnostics and therapeutics is where it's at. The second thing out of his mouth was behavioral interventions. Behavioral interventions. Well, HSTA excels in behavioral interventions. And the last thing he said was we need to develop, demonstrate, and disseminate innovative methods and technologies. And that's also where HSTA is good. So in his presentation, he said community engagement, for those of us who want to get CTSAs, Clinical Translational Science Awards, community engagement has to be incorporated across all the translational spectrum from T1 to T4. And he went so far as, this is stolen straight from him. This is plagiarized straight from Chris Austin. This is the national agenda right here in terms of community engagement as of last week. If we look at this, and you can have these slides, what I can tell you right off the top is that HSTA has a place in T1, T2, T3, and T4 in helping you get to those national agenda items. Under T1, this is how we recruit the best researchers. We build them from HSTA bottom up. We also can help you identify the most important research questions. It's really easy. You ask the kids, they ask their parents, and come back with the directions. We have 800 kids and lots more parents and grandparents and friends. It's also a way to build partnerships. Under T2 and T3, HSTA can help. It can help you determine whether you have a relevant and practicable research protocol. It can help you foster community participation. and it can help you recruit participants, along with other things as well. And under T4, this is what HSTA is actually built for the best, and that is to test adoption of interventions, to test adherence of interventions, and to interface with research partners in all different kinds of ways. And I want you to think about the collaboratory first. PCORI, I don't know that we have a PCORI here, but we have the HSTA Collaboratory. It's not the NIH Collaboratory, but it is a HSTA Collaboratory, and we will finish with that, and I just want to keep that in your head as a little tickler. So, okay, you're thinking, kids, okay, I could blow bubbles with kids, but I can't do research with kids. Wrong. Absolutely wrong. These kids are capable of doing research with you and with your guidance and with the guidance of these people right here. Just to show you the power of HSTA in engaging communities across, we've been here 20 years now. We started off as a pipeline program, and over the last 17 years, we've had NIH funding. That's about $5 million of NIH funding. Over the course of HSTA, we've had $28 million. That's 20 years, $28 million of funding through NIH, HHMI, this is alphabet soup again, Howard Hughes Medical Institute, Benedum, Coca-Cola, Kellogg, Robert Wood Johnson, and a number of others, plus the state. The state has been very generous. It has bought into HSTA. And HSTA has changed policy at the state level. So we have an infrastructure that's community-based across the bottom of the state, all the way up to the top, led by community. And this community runs HSTA, and so you're guaranteed, if you partner with HSTA and they like you, then you've got a whole host of people that will trust you to work with you. And we have a long history of doing just that. So what we have, we didn't mean to, but we developed a new workforce. We were trying to do a pipeline program. But what we really did, in addition to a pipeline, is build a workforce for community-based participatory research. And the CRAs are going to tell you exactly how that works. What we have is adolescents, 800 of them in a year, that can be vectors for change in their communities. These students are able to be city trained, and they are, conduct community-based participatory research in the most inaccessible communities, and their families offer all sorts of new insights into public health issues. This infrastructure is in place. It's not going anywhere. It's been here for 20 years, and it is unique to West Virginia. So it puts us in a perfect location to do, a perfect position to do community-based participatory research in a way that no one else in the nation is currently doing that I'm aware of. And I'm going to turn it over now to the CRAs.
That's good. Hi, I'm Merge McMillian. I'm in the central part of the state. Have mostly central counties down to Kanawha, down to Lewisburg. But I've done this. This is starting our third year, and I'm absolutely love it. Love it. I was a teacher, science teacher for 20, so this really I love this new. I was HSTA teacher as well, so moving over to this new job has been really exciting. HSTA infrastructure. As Ann was already saying, it's in the community. We have community members that volunteer to be on local governing boards. We have students, parents, doctors, nurses, other community members that volunteer their time to be on the board. And then from those local governing boards, we form a joint governing board that meets monthly, and that's where the main decisions are made. But it takes every one of those community members volunteering their time and their service to make HSTA what it is today. We also have over 800 students. We have them as they start into the 9th grade. So it's really important that they have those 4 years of high school under their belt to be part of HSTA, because they have to do science projects each year. They have to have so many hours of community service, and so getting them in their 9th grade year is imperative. There's 48 different high schools. We aren't everywhere yet, as you can see in the map. The colored regions are where we are. Would love to go further if we had some money to support us. These students meet after school. This isn't school related. This isn't a school function. So they meet after school, usually 2 hours a week. It depends on the school, varies. Some of them have Saturday clubs. but they're meeting on their own after school with their HSTA teacher, and it's through there that they do their community, their science projects, they do some community service, funds, hand-on activities that are related to science, and then it's, of course, the culmination of that year is to always present their science project. And I know probably some of you maybe have been judges for that. There's 67 teachers. There's one teacher per 10 students. Is like to keep the ratios small so that there's more of a personal interaction with them than to have one person in charge of 50 kids. It's just it's so much more personal that you know those 10 students and you know who they are. We have 14 field site coordinators, and they are over a region. Could be maybe just one county if it's large, like Kanawha, or a field site can maybe be over 2 or 3 counties if the excuse me, the region is smaller. And these field site coordinators are the ones, they take care of a lot of the paperwork and the bus scheduling and getting trips lined up for them. So they have a busy job as well. And then there's the 4 community research associates, which we've already been introduced. Who are the HSTA students? Where do they come from? What is their background? Well, there's really 4 criteria that we go by, and that they're African American is one possibility, that they come from financially disadvantaged families, first generation college, and rural. So the majority of the kids fit the rural scene, if nothing else. But of those, 30% of our HSTA students are African American. There are 63% that are financially disadvantaged. We were getting that number from, you could go through and look at the lunch numbers to see if they're free reduced lunch, which we can't do that anymore. So that's going to be a little harder for them to have to judge when they start picking their students, how you figure out whether they're financially disadvantaged or not. The first to go on to college, 74%. Too loud? Oh, question. I'm sorry. Disabled. I don't think we have, do we have any? Yeah, I don't have any research. No, I don't know the numbers. Keep track of. Yes. Right. Thank you. That's a good idea. First generation college is that's always really important to get kids that don't have a parent to support them or back them. They've never been to college. They don't know their routine or how to go about even enrolling someone in college. So working with those students is always a lot of fun, but then sometimes a lot of work because they don't have someone encouraging them. And then the 83% rural, which most of the state, you can see the counties, most of them are rural counties, and then 7% of them are female. So I don't want to say this for sure, but I think a lot of times that the males are more, that's going to interfere with my sports. I don't want it to interfere with my sports. So females are more attracted, but we do have. Seem like more and more. I had one club 2 years ago that was totally girls, but it seems like the men are finally finding out what they're missing, and they're getting more involved.
Hi, I'm Kathy Morton McSwain, and I'm here to tell you a little bit about what we do as CRAs, or Community Research Associates, and we're the knowledge brokers. So if you look at us, and we're kind of a motley crew. We have a background in high school education. We have an understanding, and this is really important because you can be a high school science teacher and have no idea about experimental design and statistics. I was in the classroom for 24 years and I had very little knowledge of statistics or experimental design, but we do, and I can say pretty clearly that we're experts, or pretty close to it now. We understand it. The cool thing about us is that we have the ability to relate scientific information to high school teachers and students. So we teach the teachers, and and then in turn the teachers teach the students. But the other thing is that we have an ability to help scientists understand the communities and relate to our HSTA kids and the personality of what HSTA is. Because, again, trust is the big word here, and we are those trust brokers because we live in our communities. And so we know who's married to whom and what's happening where, and we have that network and the trust. What do CRAs do? Well, we do a lot of things, but one of the big things we're really good at is building the partnerships between HSTA and the researchers. And that promotes our community-based research, so that if you have a really cool idea, we'll help you tweak that and even help you find students or areas that may be interested in doing your research. We work with teachers and students on implementing research protocol. And of course, that's a learning curve. We all have to learn that if there's a protocol, you have to follow it. And even though you know somebody and it's okay they can sign later, that doesn't count. Their data isn't good. So teaching that protocol is really important. We act as a liaison between community and research, so that if the community has an issue, we'll go out and find a scientist that will help us work on those issues and study them. We disseminate and translate knowledge between the researchers and HSTA communities and vice versa. And I think that's really important because vocabulary is different, slang is different, mannerism is different, and being embedded in those communities, we understand what it's going to take to get your information and get you to be able to translate that to the communities, and vice versa, so that you really understand what they're looking for and what their issues are. And the last one is we're pretty good at facilitating the IRB process, so that we help projects match what our communities need and what you need. And this is a diagram that kind of shows you what's out there and available. And a CRA, the HSTA CRAs are in the center, but the picture is to show you that it fits the needs of many. And any of these four things can float in, for instance, resources, researchers, participants, and communities. So the HSTA CRAs will help communities, for instance, if they're in the center, identify their issues. And is that something where do we get resources from? We help the researchers, in other words, understand the network of how to get into the community. Or we help researchers gain a new perspective of what's going on in our communities. We help participants learn about what HSTA does and what research is and why it's important and how they can be, community participants can be change agents. Because for the first time, a lot of times, when we have HSTA in a community, all of a sudden a community realizes they can change. They can address a problem. They can figure out how to fix it with their resources. So that HSTA CRAs can pull in policy change, community stakeholders, state legislators if we need to. And the big thing is to disseminate the knowledge and translate so that you get the biggest bang for your buck and you really make a difference. And HSTA student research projects. Ms. Summer. Yes, sir. How do we go about engaging researchers outside the community? Well, we hunt them. We hunt them down is what we do. If we have an issue in a community that may be kidney disease, and we have a lot of people that are diabetic and they're suffering from kidney disease, then as a CRA and the community or the hospital sees that as an issue, then we go on the hunt for somebody. And that means we leave no stone unturned, whether it's here or the Osteopathic School of Medicine or CAMC, whatever. Somewhat, and the needs of the scientists too. Because if the scientist, on the flip side of that, if the scientist has a need that they need to get this out and tested, or like an intervention tested, we can provide them the audience. And
What percentage of the track the scientist side versus the community-based side?
oh, What? Okay, that's a good question. That's a really good question. That's my political answer.
Most of the time.
It's community. Most of the time it's community driven, isn't it?
Most of the time, one of us runs into someone, starts talking about HSTA, and the next thing we know, we have a potential partnership. That's generally how it works. And we all go into various situations. Some other of them are community-based, and others are scientists in enriched rooms. And when we talk in those situations, one-on-one or in groups, then we start to form partnerships. So that's part of what we're doing today. So we do that all the time. So it's probably 50%, 50%.
And I think she's right with that. The other thing that I might add to that is that each of our students have to do a research project each year, and those research projects are supposed to be based on community issues that they've identified or they're interested in or their family members are interested in. So that also puts us on the hunt for...
Did the students seek out investigators, or did they all for you?
through us. We're the conduit to find those. Once in a while they may have a relative or something that works at Concord, or, but normally it's through us. Okay. And so student HSTA research projects, and this is you, isn't it? There you go.
I'm Summer. I work in the southern part of the state. And just to tell you a little bit about the actual work that the students have to do. Again, it's a research project they have to carry out. They have to carry out one for each year there in HSTA for a total of a year. And we have a timeline that students have to work with. And of course, we have to try to get our scientists to work in that also. So the first thing the students do is a proposal. We call this Doc 1. It's their research question, basic background, picking out their variables and their methods. This goes on until the October, and this is their first draft. And then, of course, it's that proposal approval. We're going back and forth with comments, trying to make their methods tight and things like that, making sure all the protocols are followed if they're on an IRB project. And that leads us up to January. And again, this is on a school timeline. And then, once they get that approval, and CRAs get that approval along with the teacher input, they can start implementing and collecting their data, depending on its intervention. Some of them do bench science, depending on what their research is. And of course, once they do all their data, they're going to finish that proposal to complete a presentation, including all their data and their conclusions, and they'll present at a local symposium or regional symposium in May. And this is what we can provide again. So once the students have the research project, this is when we tie in with our scientists. Again, there's 800 students that we have. All students are trained through city training. They're all ethically trained. And they're the trust of the locals. I'm from Raleigh County. That might be easy for me, but when I go to Mercer, McDowell County, the students can go out to their neighbors and things, and they can fill out this survey. And then the students, of course, come back to me because that's who they trust. So, it's the line of the trust there. CRA assistance, we're not just going to throw you to the wolves. We're not going to just put you in a club with a bunch of high school students. We're going to be there with you. We're going to help you. IRB assistance, like Kathy had mentioned before, again, we're not going to require you to do all the legwork. We're going to help you through this process. And we do have an IRB approved lifestyle survey. A lot of scientists will just click onto our survey and do interventions based on that or use some of the data. Teacher oversight, again, if you're going down there for a guest speaker or even talk to the students about intervention project, you're not going to be left alone. We have teachers. We have potentially 80 teachers. We have 67 right now currently, and they're always with the students, helping them collect their data, making sure all the paperwork's done. And then one of the cool things about our students is they're hard to reach populations that some of the scientists can't reach, but our students are part of those communities, so they are able to get all those people to help us out and participate in their research. And again, translation and dissemination of research to the community. What's easier way than to get our youth to do that for our community? Whether they're going to church with these people, see them at their local grocery store, hey, this is what I learned in HSTA, do you have a few minutes to talk with me? And opportunity to recruit future healthcare providers. These kids are the future. These kids that we're going to, go through college, become doctors and nurses, our scientists and things like that. These are the people we need to start getting ready. We don't want just, we want researchers and PhDs, so if we get these kids excited about that in high school, the more likely to follow through that when they go through college. And this is an example of if you would do a research project with us. Over there you'll see the counties that we're in, and then this one with the red dots and the yellow dots is the data points from a DPD lifestyle survey that we had. So you can see that, you know, the data that we collected stretched pretty far across the state, and we are lacking in the Eastern Panhandle. Just when this data was collected, Eastern Panhandle was just coming on board, so that's why we're, you know, there's no data points over there, but we have expanded in that region. You know, and if you look at this, I mean, 800 students, you're thinking 3 surveys each, if this is a survey project, it's 2,400 possible data points, data, you know, surveys that you can collect. You know, it's pretty, you know, diverse in the state from the top to the bottom.
So I'm Sarah Hanks, and I am here. Oh, question. Yes.
So the question was, do we promote any one type of research, correct? Is that it?
No, you just say, is there any the students feel that research for PhDs and not for
Oh, do kids feel like research is only for PhDs? Yeah, we do. HSTA does not promote research under the PhD terminology at all. We just promote research at the 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th grade level in collaboration with scientists who are fully engaged in the research project. We've got people with no credentials helping do this. We have people with 3 credentials after their name doing this. And in all of these situations, allow the students to rub shoulders with people doing research in fun ways. And that's the best way to recruit. It works. So thanks.
Okay, so I'm Sarah Hanks, like I said, and I'm here in Morgantown, so I take care of all the Mon County schools, Marion County, and then up in the northern panhandle. So they sent me up here to ask for stuff. So what do we need from you? Well, you know, we need research ideas. We need, you know, we want to know what you're interested in, how we can help you, so we need those ideas. We need the experimental design help. So we can provide the boots on the ground, we can provide the people. Those protocols, you know, that's what we're wanting to see from you all. Materials and supplies for the research, that just makes sense. Instruments for data collection, and then guidance on data collection. Again, we're using this as a teaching opportunity for our students, so teaching them the importance of, you know, the proper way to collect data and those sorts of things. Our students really benefit from that. Data access for student analysis and presentation. So as Summer said a few minutes ago, our kids have to present at a symposium at the end of their projects. So any data that the students have been involved in collecting, they're going to want to have that, have access to that for analysis so they can present and disseminate that at those symposium. At the same time, any publications that come out of any work that we do, we really like for HSTA students, teachers to be recognized in those publications, especially if they've been partners in collecting that data. And finally, you know, researchers and scientists, you all are important role models and mentors for our students. So that's another really big thing that we ask for, is that mentoring and role modeling for those students. So Summer went over the timeline that our students have to get their projects together and all of those things, and they sort of couched in the school year. So in terms of proposals partnering with us, what needs to happen? Right now is the time to sort of start talking to us about ideas that you may have. I think Ann or Merge went through the joint governing board process. Projects have to go through that process just so that the board knows what's going on. So now is the time for us to be looking at those proposals, taking it through those boards to make sure that everybody's on board. Once that all happens in September, we'll start going out and looking at who's interested, who wants to partner on this project with us student-wise. So we'll start recruiting those students to help. And then October through January, we ask for your help in working with students on their research proposals that Summer had talked about earlier. And then January through April, that's the implementation of the projects, when the actual data collection is happening, and then following that, the data analysis, and then all culminating with that student symposia in May. And we love for our research partners to be at those symposia with us, just to show what the kids have done and sort of validate all those projects. Turn it back over to Ann.
And one thing I wanted to say is we will partner with lots of different people. We are not picky. We even partner with the University of Pittsburgh. So here's some current research collaborations, and they sort of go from most recent to the most long-lived. We're starting a project with Julie Brzezinski-Lewis looking at stress, and she's been collaborating for 2 years. And a couple of years ago, she had one student who had one of her stress tapes. And that student collected over 50 participants worth of data, pre and post test survey on the effectiveness and the efficacy of her stress reduction tapes. And Julie hasn't yet looked at the data, and the student is up there presenting her data inside of 6 months. There were significant differences. It's a good tape, in other words. And so the kid is already up there translating the findings. And Julie has she's now really psyched about this, because now she's got data and she has the potential of a bigger engine than one participant who just collected 50 points. We're starting out working with Rebecca Schmidt in kidney disease. We have a longer-term social ginseng harvesting, aspects of ginseng harvesting in the social context with Dr. Jim McGraw. Because ginseng, if you know where to hunt ginseng, you don't tell anybody, and harvesting practices can get you fines, etc. So there's a lot of social aspects to that. And we have some wonderful presentations from kids. And then we have HSTA kids as coaches of physical activity behavior change. And that's another project that we've had going for a couple of years, or this is the second year. And the long-term one is University of Pittsburgh, Lifestyle and Physical Activity Investigation. And that one is a survey which we have caboodles of data on all kinds of lifestyle and behavior on those points that were on that map that cross years, 7 years, I think. Some years we have lots of data points, other years we have 250 participants. So it varies from year to year. However, that database is open. The students use it all the time. It's an online survey. It's IRB approved. You can use it as a pre and post test for various interventions. It's got questions on about every lifestyle parameter you can think of, including BMI. We try not to ask questions that will get us in jail, though, and so there's not much drug abuse questioning on there, or alcohol abuse. So keep that in mind. We also have various projects starting up with NIH. But I wanted to talk to you about one project in particular. This is my first patient research opportunity that is just now getting started. This is Benedum funded. It's a 2-year project. We're looking for partners. Right now, I don't know why we're looking for partners, but we are, because we are already collaborating with the School of Medicine, the School of Dentistry, the School of Pharmacy, the Center for Cardiovascular and Respiratory Services, the Engineering, and the Davis College. And that IRB is actually almost through. So if you want in, hurry up. What this does is it incorporates individualized health assessment and coaching into HSTA yearly activities. Our hypothesis is that HSTA students from 26 counties are change agents for their community, starting with themselves as their own first patient. First phase starts next July 2014, and ends May 2015. Has about 180 students in it. Second phase takes it to the community. And like I said, the IRB is in progress. In fact, we had, I think, our final meeting yesterday before we start adding new partners, which will start us all over again. So here's how it's set up. We have about 180 HSTA students coming to WVU campus every summer. So next summer, these kids are going into the 11th grade, which makes them, what, 17? The students will be assessed for various health indicators. I'll show you the list of all the indicators that we have so far. This will happen while they're on campus. It will be done by Med 1, Dent 1, Pharmacy 1 students. And the HSTA students will select a goal after they get their health assessment. And that goal is something that they will work towards throughout the school year as their own first patient. While they're doing this, they will receive personalized coaching, meaning Facebook, little groups, special secret groups on Facebook, and they will get, that coaching will be based on their own goal, and it'll be done weekly with a team of very highly specialized professional students from medicine, dentistry, pharmacy, the Davis College, and maybe from CPAS as well. And then in March, they will all get bused back to WVU for another total screening, minus the x-rays. We're not doing the dental x-rays at that point. Once is enough. Fred, you had a question? Okay, no question. So here is our lineup of assessments. Full dental x-rays, blood pressure, heart rate, respiratory rate, BMI, waist circumference, hemoglobin A1C, lipid profile, fasting glucose, endothelial function. That's Jeff Frisbee with the little EndoPat that goes on the fingertip and assesses endothelial function. You can actually see changes in endothelial function much faster than in most of these other indicators. So we're really excited about that. And then the fMRI is the stress test that we are considering. We haven't finalized and we may not do. But it turns out you can test for stress indicators in hair follicles. And so we could do, if we got brave, we could do, any kid who was interested in that, in the stress aspect and had a stress goal, could do hair follicle patches with Julie Pravinsky-Lewis. So that's it. And I didn't put on here the really interesting experiment that the NSF grant we just put in for is going to take on. And that is this engineering, Dr. Ajero, has come up, his team has come up with a gizmo out of the We Connect camera device that can assess pretty accurately your BMI if you walk in front of it. I know, kind of scary. But he is looking for ways to improve that. He can even get within 80% of telling you your ethnicity, and your gender is even easier. So with this device, the HSTA kids could go out in the communities and do experiments in everywhere from Walmart to the local drugstore or something like that. But anyway, it would be up to the HSTA kids to figure out how to use this device. He's got the device and no use, and HSTA kids could really have fun coming up with multiple uses for that. So this is our assessment list right now, and we are open for business. So that's already funded. You don't need any money other than your own supplies. If you're going to analyze spit, then you need money. If you're going to analyze blood, you're going to need money. But just if you're analyzing any of these kinds of things, you don't to come with us and come along for the ride, because we've already got all the money it takes to get the kids here and back and those tests that I outlined. By the way, we do research that analyzes saliva and blood. So this is unfunded yet, but I wanted to show you that NIH has multiple PARs for partnering with HSTA. There's an R01 on understanding and promoting health literacy. Health literacy in many different facets of it. There's an R01, 5-year limit, no limited budget. We should do that. There's also 3 opportunities under dissemination and implementation research in health. The first one, the R03, $50,000 for 2 years. The R21 is $275,000 over 2 years. And then the R01, again, has no limitation on amount you ask for as long as it's reasonable, and it is a 5-year limitation. And these are all for the same purpose: to identify, develop, evaluate, and refine effective and efficient methods, systems, infrastructures, and strategies to disseminate and implement research-tested health behavior change interventions, the kind of thing that HSTA can do. Evidence-based prevention, kind of thing that HSTA can do. Early detection diagnostics, treatment and management, quality of life improvement services. This is the kind of thing HSTA can do. And data monitoring and surveillance reporting tools into public health. If you have daily data monitoring and surveillance reporting tools, that is technology. The kids are interested in that. They're very interested in technology. Looking at all of various settings, public health, clinical practice, and focusing on patient outcomes. And from the words of Chris Austin, MD, Director of NCATES, patient is broadly defined beyond the bed, all the way to the community. So we would love to partner with you on any and all of this. So what I wanted to show you is what we have here in West Virginia with HSTA mimics what NIH is looking for. NIH has research collaboratories. That's what NIH really wants to develop. And that is with the healthcare deliveries organizations in the center, researchers in one end, patient care at the other end, and their research collaboratories are looking at clinics throughout the U.S., and they want to leverage this whole infrastructure to expand capabilities to enable pragmatic trials and new technologies. Well, we could do just that with HSTA. We have HSTA, these folks right here in the middle, the whole HSTA infrastructure with community and the leadership role. And we have the ability to address healthcare disparities in West Virginia, as proven by the data that we've collected. We've published in Clinical Translational Science Journal 4 times and multiple other journals as well. We have the ability to enable you to test the effectiveness of understanding, dissemination, adoption, policy change. These are words directly from NIH RO blank, meaning multiple different research and dissemination opportunities for funding. And I want to say that we are the only state in the nation that has this, and I think we should be using it across the state. It's West Virginia's, and it's our opportunity to make use of it in a way that nobody else nationwide has seen fit to even address the pipeline issue on a statewide basis, let alone the effectiveness of using it as a community engagement tool for doing research. Final thoughts are coming from Kathy.
All right, so the big thing you need to remember is that it's great for partnering because our students, our community, our HSTA program can get you research and access those hard-to-reach populations that never get touched. We have unprecedented access to and the ability to influence policy. because our kids learn how to speak, they learn what's going on, and they're the advocates out front talking to the legislators, talking to the communities that need to address their policy, talking to the hospital and telling them, hey, you need to get on board this. You're the community hospital here. Why aren't you doing something about this? And again, adolescents are our workforce in CPBR. This is another thing that's unbelievable and that we just kind of stumbled on. And, you know, we're always thinking we're giving to the students, training the teachers. Because they now take that knowledge and they are the vectors for change. And it was a wonderful surprise, but it's an awesome thing, and it's great to see them empowered. And what they do is, the other thing is that it allows for mentoring future public health practitioners, clinicians, and researchers. So you're able to do that. You have a huge influence on the kids. And what we're doing is teaching them how important research is, and it's a good way to think, and it's a good way to live your life. But you're also then recruiting your replacements for the future. And community engagement really isn't an issue with us. It is the be-all and end-all, because when you're poor and you come from a rural community or an urban community, you may not have a lot to give monetarily, but you can give your time, and you will help your students, and you will help your children, and you will help your community, because it doesn't cost anything but time. And there are lots of funding opportunities available, and they're available now. I want to leave you with the 4 tenets that the HSTA CRAs have, and HSTA in its own. And that is, what we're doing is, and it's our belief, is that HSTA students, we're raising HSTA students with 21st century skills to be 21st century citizens. So no matter what career they choose, they're going to learn to be good citizens and address the needs and the disparities of their community with a give back. So we teach them to be responsible citizens, to foster change in the community, to have a community service mentality, to change from within, and act as vectors for change, and examine policy. Most high school kids don't even think that they have a right to see the policy. These kids examine it, and if it needs addressed, they're even willing to tackle that. The other thing, the second tenet, is that we provide rigorous, relevant, and engaged educational opportunities, and you can do that too. And that's why we want you to partner with us, because classroom teachers will learn from working with you, the researcher. You have no idea how great it is to be a classroom teacher, and we can all speak from that, to have someone from a university, a researcher from a university, that wants to use you and your talents and values your opinion and your skills. And the cool thing about our teachers is they can take your research design and hone it down with our help and make it understandable so the kids can do it, and so that you get quality. The other thing, the third tenet, is that we translate our findings and we educate. We have the ability to educate unconventional audiences. How about educating the Higher Education Policy Commission? We do. How about universities, scientists, families, legislators? Those are all possibilities. Those are all things our kids do. That's an awesome thing. And the last thing is that I wanted to bring to you is, what does this benefit offer to you? And what it sets the bar. If you participate with us, you're setting the bar for CTSI here at West Virginia, because you can do things that you otherwise can't do on your own, right? That's a truth, and we know that. So we ask you to join us. How do you get involved? You contact me, and I'll hook you up with our great crew here. Do you have any questions? Share resources, network, engage. All right, who's on? Let's see. Hands? No. Questions? No. From the osteopathic school? No. I don't know how to do that. It's not two-way? Yeah. Okay. And so we'll take questions now. Thank you.
So you had a survey research design that you wanted to implement. Would it be with one student in one community, or would it be where you have different HSTA students?
Well, good question. It depends upon the scope of what you want to do, first of all, if you're the scientist. And the other thing is you may have one student or 3 students in one club that carries it out. Okay. If you want to go statewide, we may find 5 or 6 other clubs that are interested. But if you're looking at, for instance, something that's going on only in Preston County, then we would engage the kids in Preston County.
So we also offer community service. The students have to do community service. And another thing is if there is a survey that's quick to administer, et cetera, then we give community service points to kids across the state for administering it. But we don't require that a particular region take that on as community service. We just offer it. And so that map you saw was all the points in one year. That was, they were all collected that same year. And I think, did we give community service points for that? I think we did.
Yes, we did. Some of the kids did some projects in the other series, community service.
Other questions?
You have a clearinghouse for all the researchers to give at least some idea for the students to be able to design or think about research projects they want. Or does the researcher like myself come in and say, this is the area I want to look at, other people out there are interested, or if you say this is the area of my expertise, and open it up to the students to try to design interest
Yes.
projects as interest.
So we should So the question was, is there a clearinghouse, basically a clearinghouse for researchers to present their ideas and partner with us? And then on a more specific level, how do the students get involved with collection of saliva and blood? And so these folks right here are the clearinghouse. Everything goes through the CRAs. So in the summertime would be the most ideal time to get your ideas to us. And then they get vetted through our process, the Joint Governing Board at the community level. And especially if it involves saliva and blood. We have an research ethics committee within HSTA to make sure that we're not compromising the community in any way from their perspective. That's different from the IRB. And we have experience with both saliva and blood, and in both of those cases, the students don't directly collect. What they do is they collect participants on a day in a location, and in that location, you show up as the researcher with all of your support staff and with the HSTA students and teachers as your, they run your circles for you and keep your people moving, but your people have to do all the collection. Other questions? Well, thank you very much. Appreciate you coming. And thanks for those of you who already partner with us. There are those in the room. Yay.